Hey guys, Sam here. Welcome back to our channel, and we have another video with our mini excavator today. We are going to be installing a hydraulic thumb attachment and adding something special that we bought at the very end. So without further ado, let's jump into adding the hydraulic thumb on this mini excavator. I have the mini excavator's arm up and propped on top of a very sturdy workbench type thing that I have here. What I'm going to do next is go ahead and start bolting the thumb attachment onto the arm, but I will not touch the hydraulics. I am concerned that if I start to disconnect and hook up these new hydraulic hoses, that perhaps it will release the pressure on the system, and I don't want this arm moving at all. So before I touch the hydraulics, this will get put back down on the ground. But for now, to literally bolt the things together and do the work, it's a lot more convenient up here. I've removed the bolts out of this, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back into place. There looks like there's two bolts here. I'm going to stick it on this one. This is me guessing though, because there are no instructions with this. It was just the actual item in the box. That fits there, so we'll go with that. And then I have a shorter bolt, and it goes up here at this top pivot point. I did have to use a hammer to get this bolt out of this bracket, so I'm going to use the hammer to tap it into place. So that was pretty easy to put it into place. Thankfully the hammer made quick work of it, and is always a good persuasion device to have on hand when dealing with stuff like this. At least that's been my experience. So I've got the nuts that go on the other side of these bolts, and they are measuring at about 34 millimeter in size. So there's some pretty large ones. What I'm going to do is just use two large adjustable wrenches that I always keep in the toolbox of my tractor for implement attachments. Put it on one end of the bolt, one end of the nut, crank it down, and tighten these into place. Since these are large nylon lock nuts, I don't think I'm going to crank this down too far or too tight, because it still needs to pivot. So I'm going to just snug it up and we'll see how it goes. So we'll tighten it down. We got any movement? Oh, that's still free. Okay, go ahead and snug this down all the way then. I'll just double check my movements as I go. Alright, that is good and tight, but we still have movement, which is great. Now I'm going to turn my attention to this bolt and nut down here. This was still assembled from the factory, but that is not on there all the way. So I'll go ahead and crank this guy down as well. There is plenty of room for this arm to pivot in here. I can see a large gap. So I'm going to snug this down until it's tight and not worry about binding it up. Alright, these two are done. Now let's go up here to the top of the cylinder and tighten this bolt down. It's hard to do this without blocking the camera. I just want to stand right where the camera always is, because your best angle to see is almost always my best angle to see. That's alright. I will work awkward so you guys can have the best seat in the house. That is as tight as that gets. The nut is bottoming out on the bolt, but as you can see, there's still a gap. So I guess that's fine. We've still got movement here, enough free play, and it is at least tightened down. While the boom arm is still in the air, I'm going to hook up the hydraulic hoses to the thumb end. I'm not going to touch the hydraulic lines that are already on the excavator. I'm just going to hook them up here to the cylinder. Might as well while it's here at easy height. Thread them into place. Then, like I said, we'll put everything down on the ground, relax the hydraulics, prepare for it to totally go loose on us whenever I connect up to here, but hope that it doesn't. So I'm going to unscrew this little plastic protector cap that's here. And then looking at the end of the hydraulic hose, they have little O-rings in here, so I don't need to tape any threads or anything. And also looking, both ends of the hose are identical, so I'll pick one, we'll thread it into place. I want to be careful that I do not over tighten this. This is a large adjustable wrench that I'm using, and I don't want to twist or mess any of this up. That would not be fun. This side's done, so let's jump over to the next and repeat the process. And just like the other side, I'm going to snug it with the adjustable wrench till it's nice and snuggied, but not overdo it. Okay, stop, Sam. There we go. Alright, I've got the boom arm sitting on the ground in as best of a situation that I think it can get in. In the event those hydraulics lose their pressure, which I think they will, I think they should, it should not move around. It's not at a point where it's going to want to fold or collapse, at least I hope not. I'm definitely going to stay well out of the way of this thing as I take the little caps off the hoses that came pre-installed on the machine and then attach the new ones for the thumb. Alright, so I need to take this piece off to where this replaces it. So this first little silver piece is coming off first. Okay, we do have a little bit of fluid, so I'm going to step back so I don't get sprayed. Not too bad, not too bad. Nobody's falling around, that's good. Take off the protective cap off of this one. Thread it into place. There we go. And we'll tighten this thing down. There we are. That was pretty easy. Let's do the same thing on the other side now. Oop, a little bit, little bit of fluid there. There we have it. The hydraulic thumb is attached. The hydraulic hoses are attached. And I took a second there to double check all the other hose fittings, connections, and any other thing I could find on this boom arm and the machine in general to make sure they were all tight, which they were. Last thing I'm going to do is use two of these zip ties that were included in the toolbox with the machine to just attach these two hoses together so that hopefully I don't snag them as easily on things as we use the machine. Otherwise, I think we're ready to go ahead and start up the machine. Double check our hydraulic fluid, operate the controls, check that hydraulic fluid again, operate some more, check it again, and of course we're going to need to add more because I will assume that the cylinder in this thumb was totally empty. Not sure. We'll find out though. Alright guys, the thumb has been installed and I ran through all the hydraulic functions both ways, left, right, up, down, whichever way it wants to go. I even slewed around a little bit in the carport. That's where you pivot the base. But worked all the controls, all the cylinders, full extension, full retraction to get as much air out of the lines that there could be. Then I shut off the machine, looked at the hydraulic sight on the side of the machine, noticed no difference. Took the cap off, hoping that maybe there was a dipstick there. There's not, and I also couldn't see down into the reservoir to see how low we had gone. So at this point, I mean, it's okay to operate, but I need to go to the store and get the hydraulic fluid. What I have here on hand doesn't have the exact same numbers and stuff that the machine has on its sticker. Now, I also need to go do some research and see, does it matter, does it not? But for now, in the sake of getting this video knocked out soon, let's go ahead and take Micro Machine the Mini X into the woods, see if we can pick up some logs, and otherwise, thumb around, right? Let's just use that thing and see how cool it works. You know, to be honest, I am impressed with this mini excavator overall. I didn't think it would move some of these trees that have been cut down here for a while. They are soaked, they've been sitting on the ground, they're wet, but this guy pretty much moved all of the ones that I wanted to. It will take a little bit of time getting the hang of the thumb controls, being that it's a joystick down here, and it's not anything you do with your hand joysticks, it's another lever down there at the bottom, but that's fine. Eventually we'll get the hang of it. If nothing else, I'll just look like an amateur for a while. Doesn't matter, it's still getting the job done. So the thumb works out great. Now let's take this back to the carport and try out something different that I got. Not thumb related, but bucket related. I found someone who volunteered to drive it back to the carport for me, which is fine because this thing is not the fastest in the world, and it also like bounces as you go, and it's not the terrain. I don't know. It's a jiggle machine, that's for sure. So he can have at it. What could it be? What could it be? It's cardboard. Oh snap. Alright, I'm gonna slide this off.
Nice.
Look at that. Woo. That is a nice bucket. That's right, we have a narrow bucket. I mentioned it in the other video when we unboxed this machine and everything, and I found one. I hope it'll fit. It's not from the manufacturer. They didn't have any at the time of doing this, so I ordered one off of Amazon following the dimensions of everything. Hopefully it'll work, but we won't know until we install it. So there are 2 nuts and bolts to take off to remove the original bucket, and then we should just put this one right into place. As I'm picking up on the bucket, wiggling it, take that one out. Go. All right. Let's try the new bolts that we got. All right, they go in from the other side. And it rotates to where it locks into that. Okay, let's go ahead and try and line up that other one. Awesome! Hey, yay! It fits. Hey, yay!
I need to put it a tiny bit. But
It's alright, just kind of wiggle, wiggle. Tap, tap. Now we can tighten the nuts on this other side. There we go. There we go. That 8-inch bucket was a piece of cake to install and thankfully was completely compatible. There was a little bit of a question whether or not it would be, but it is. And that's nice because this is more of a universal size for these style mini excavators. At this point, it's going to be it. We put the hydraulic thumb on, used it in the woods, played around and had fun, and we installed the 8-inch bucket. The reason we've got the 8-inch bucket is for some trench work we have planned, but that'll be in a different video. If you guys got any questions or comments, leave them for us down below. There's a link to the bucket and the thumb down below as well. Otherwise, take care. We'll see you guys next time.